next up, we have Action Chair, and we'll be looking first at the manifesto points of Mr. Michael Jordan. Let's have a look what he had to say.
Hi everyone, I'm Michael Jordan and I'm running to be your next Action Chair. Over the past 3 years I've been heavily involved in Action as a hall rep, a project leader, hall reps coordinator and I'm currently vice chair. I study criminology and I'm in my final year. In my spare time I like to play football for Ashby Rovers and enjoy nothing more than chilling out with my friends in the pub. The reason why I'd like to be Action Chair is because I believe the 3 years experience I have lead me perfectly to the role and I really care about the section and want to develop it further. My manifesto points include focusing on establishing projects which improve students' employability skills, also to utilise technology within the section using a new swipe card registration system, and to provide students with a social and functional hub whereby they can volunteer within Loughborough. So if you want to enhance the volunteering service that Action provides and get more out of volunteering, then elect me, Michael Action Air Jordan, as your next Action Chair.
Please give a warm welcome to Michael Jordan. Michael, thanks for joining me here. Here's your mic, sir. Okay, and we'll go straight on to second candidate in the running for Action Chair, and here are her manifesto points. It's Sarah Haar.
Hi, I'm Sarah-Emmanuelle Haar and I'm running to be your new Action Chair. I've been involved with the section since I was a fresher. In my first 2 years I was Kaylee Action Rep and I'm now on the Action Committee as the Hall Reps Coordinator. I'm also a finalist maths student. I'm hoping to make Action more accessible to students with an increase of media coverage and Action roadshows. I intend to widen the scope of Action by merging the sections and channeling the skills volunteers already possess into unique events for the community. I intend to ensure volunteers are acknowledged for their hard work, and I also aim to integrate the college and town students more as they're often out of the loop when not in halls. Introducing the new fully funded project Sports Mad, which results in a sports coaching qualification, will also open up a new volunteering opportunity for international students. I'd like to highlight the importance of volunteer satisfaction and just make all of the amazing opportunities that Action has to offer more accessible to students than it has been before. I believe Action speaks louder than words. If you do too, then vote Sarah-Emmanuelle Haar for your Action Chair.
Here she is, it's Sarah Haar. Hello Sarah, thanks for joining us. Okay guys, another heavily contested position, and I think people have said that they can't really call it. Sarah, how are you feeling about this evening?
Excited, nervous, yeah, just ready to hear what everyone has to say about our manifesto points, I think.
Good, and Michael?
Yeah, it'd be really good to get my points across to everyone in the audience as well, so answer some questions and see what happens. Good
stuff, well I think they're raring to go. Joe, who have we got in the audience?
Very hotly contested one. Two very strong campaigns. Couldn't help but think of Space Jam when you introduced Michael Jordan to the floor there, though. We've got a tweet in, come on, from a former Action Chair, which is David Cox, and he'd like to know, what's the one strength that your opponent has that you do not possess?
Okay.
Hang on, sorry, apologies. I think I might have the wrong question there. Oh no, sorry, no, it is right. It is right. Sorry about that.
Are you hearing voices again, Joe?
Just to clarify.
You're all right. Okay, here we go. So, Sarah.
Just to clarify, what's the one strength your opponent has that you do not possess?
Sarah, over to you.
I've been friends with MJ for a while, so I know him quite well, and I think he is much better at speaking his points than I am actually. So he's better at communicating. I mean, I think I've got really good communication skills with people one-on-one and with groups of people, but in cases like this, I think he's definitely got the upper hand. So yeah, he's good at that.
Okay, and Michael?
I'd probably say a lot of the time she's a lot more friendly than I am, especially these early morning Action projects. Sometimes takes a little bit out of you, so I'd say probably friendly, yeah.
Oh, thanks,
all right, it's getting a bit soppy over here. Let's go over to some hard-nosed stuff. Jago, what do you think about the Action Chair candidates this year?
Very much like Connor. It's fantastic once again that we've got a contest and two very, very good candidates. My question to both of them will be, and this could be a question to any section head in fact, where will your priorities lie between Action and your role on the executive? Are you running to be Action Chair, or are you running to be on the executive?
Sarah, to you first.
Oh, I'm running to be Action Chair, definitely. Not to be on the executive. I'm running because I care about the section. I've watched it grow over the last 3 years, so I've seen now that I'm on Action Committee, I've worked closer with the current Action Chair, and I've seen that the section grow over the last few years, and I can really see where I think it needs improving. So yeah, I want to be Action Chair because I think I can improve it where it needs it.
MJ, Action Chair or place on the exec?
Yeah, first and foremost, definitely running to be Action Chair. But obviously, in the past, Billy has taken on the role of being an exec member as well. I think it's important to be a good team member as well as just focusing on your section. In the past, probably Coxie is an example of someone who's focused just on action. But I think it's good to have a mixture of the two. But obviously, the first and foremost thing is action.
Okay, we're joined by Mr. Billy Marsh to the right here. Welcome to the debate for Billy. Just picking up on what Jago said, how difficult have you found it going between your responsibilities as Action Chair and being a team player with the exec?
It's not actually that difficult, really, because when you actually get in the job and when you've got such a great team as I have, it's not that difficult to kind of get enveloped in it. Being Action Chair is an absolutely fantastic thing. You get to do so much, but at the end of the day, you aren't just elected to be Action Chair. There's 10 full-time members on the exec, and you are one of those 10, and you are one of those voices in the room. So at the end of the day, regardless of how much heart and soul you put into action, you always have to remember you're on the executive and you're there to represent students more broadly.
Brilliant, thank you, Bill. Joe, have we got another question in the audience?
Yeah, a lot of opinion on this one, Connor. If you want to get involved at home, I think we'll have to read it out correctly this time. Use us on the hashtag #TheBubbleDebate. Now, Abby Sambells, I believe, has a question for us. Is Abby in the room? Hello, Abby. Your question for the Action candidate.
This is my 3rd year in Loughborough, and I've only just this year become involved in the A-teams. These are opportunities I would have loved over the past few years, but because I didn't know much about the sign-up evening, I never knew about them. I know there is advertising, but what new and unique method could you use to promote these days further?
Okay, so MJ, any new and unique methods?
Well, like you say, A-teams aren't just advertised on the day we have the showcase. It's also through halls, and that's probably the best way we get people to A-teams. So promoting it through halls is probably the biggest thing. I don't know if you were in halls, but you were, yeah. Halls is probably the best way to get people to go to A-teams. Technology is something I want to enhance in the section a lot. I have a lot of ideas focused on A-teams, and one of them is like to increase the media behind the publicising of A-teams. I think would definitely benefit getting more numbers.
Okay, Sarah, you touched on earlier that you've got some innovative ideas. What do you think needs to be done with the action section?
Yeah, one of my manifesto points is actually to increase media coverage for action and make it more accessible to students, because if people do miss pick a project night at the beginning of the year, there's not action isn't really taken to the students again after that. We sometimes have another pick a project later on in the year, but if they miss that in Freshers Week, then it's very hard for them to hear about all the projects on offer. So I would really like to continue this new thing that we've got at the moment, Action Roadshows, which we've been bringing back. I think it started in Adam's year. So bringing action to the students, taking the committee to showcase all the projects on offer to the students in halls, and also taking this Action Roadshow to the college as well. I know that Chloe is the current college rep, and she said that at their sort of bazaar that they had, she was by herself flyering for action. But if we had the whole committee supporting her and really bring action to the students, then that would definitely be great. And also for the Loughborough.net website, it's quite hard to navigate around, I find, and a lot of people have agreed with me when I've been door knocking. So to maybe make that a little bit easier to use, then hopefully it'll be easier for people to sign up to A-teams and find out what's coming up.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Constantine, obviously we've established that it's very difficult for candidates to write down plans before they've been in a job that you can only really experience when you're in it. Do you think both Michael and Sarah have feasible answers?
Well, I mean, I'd just like to clarify a few of those manifesto points without getting into promises you can't keep. You say, Sarah, and I'll put this to you afterwards, Michael, you say merging the sections. Are you referring to the workforce of RAG in particular, or are you just saying the volunteer basis of all the sections?
Oh no, I'm talking about all the sections. Touching on, say merging the sections, that's on my manifesto, right? Yeah, as in societies, AU clubs, E&E, those sections as well. Yeah, of course, RAG. I mean, we all do oversee projects together. I was speaking to someone today, they thought that Killy was part of Action. they didn't realise that Kilimanjaro is actually the RAG side of things. A lot of people get that confused still. But no, merging the sections, I was thinking more along the lines of E&E. We have a lot more fraction reps at the moment, which is merging Freak and Action on committees, on hall committees, and also things like societies. So I've been speaking to lots of societies recently. For example, I did my flash mob today with Raucous, which is a street dance society, and street dance would be happy to put on a one-day event, maybe teaching kids how to street dance, for example, because there are lots of volunteers at the uni, and I'm one of them. I've been doing it since my fresh year. I can't street dance, as you can probably see from today's video, but they taught me in a day how to put together a dance, and I absolutely enjoyed it. Their volunteering was fantastic. They did it off their own back. So using societies and the skills that the people at this university have, I'd like to merge sections, which is also touching on being an exec member as well.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And Michael, some questions to you?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, John, did you want to repeat the question?
Well, Sarah had a point of merging the sections. Do you think there's any benefit to be gained from, I don't know, pooling resources or doing joint events?
Something which I have thought upon, I basically want Action to provide more of a service to students and also the Students' Union. I think this can be done by combining resources from the student pool. Action and RAG currently are two places where there's a lot of competition. I don't think there needs to be this competition. I think it's quite needless, and using like the resources from both, because the majority of students in a recent poll done by the Exec going around campus didn't know the difference between Action and RAG. I think this.
I can't say that I really do either.
Yeah, well
I'll come on to that, in that you talk about merging sections and you both say it's very good. I didn't hear either of those RAG candidates, we just had 2 debates earlier, mention anything about merging sections. Why do you think that is?
I don't think merging sections is a good idea, but I think using the resources from both sections, they both have a lot of volunteers. I think if you're a volunteer, that should be classed as you're an Action volunteer first, but if you're doing a RAG project, that's like an external thing again. I think there's a lot of needless competition. I don't think it's good for either Action or RAG or any other section for that example.
Billy, your response to that?
Well, I'll just put it out there. Right now, Action and RAG are working together more than they have done in the past. Certain RAG Martian events, as they offer no monetary value to students when they're actually logging their hours, as you would for an Action project. We have been working with societies, we have been working with all kinds of other groups across the union, especially AU, who are now looking at getting further links with. So this stuff is actually in motion at the moment. MJ's idea of this social functional hub and MJ's merging of the sections, it's kind of the next phase of what's currently going on. It just depends how far it can develop before the sections lose their identities. It's an old phrase that was thrown around poorly by some of my predecessors, saying that Action would lose what it is if it helped the rest of the union.
So, Sophie, I mean, you had strong views about the last, the RAG candidates. Does it matter that the sections are losing their identity as long as they're doing a good job for others?
Yeah, not so much. I think agree with Billy. Like, I don't think it matters necessarily. I mean, what would be the problem if there was one sort of large section? Just a question to you, Sarah. You said that you're sort of all for sort of getting more and more people involved. But one thing you mentioned in your label article was that you sort of, similar to what some people said about in RAG as well, is that you wanted to focus on sort of quality, not necessarily quantity. Yeah. Do you think that maybe that you're sort of slightly contradicting yourself slightly? I mean, because obviously you're going to need a lot of people to put in place these ideas, which I think are great. I think, you do need to sort of bring action to the students, and I agree with your points on that. But I wonder how you're going to do that if you're necessarily not going to be focusing on sort of encouraging way more people to be involved, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, I want to open that both to Michael and Sarah. Just very quick answers if you can, Sarah. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Actually, when I was talking to Label about that, I was mainly referring to the litter picking Freshers Week. When I'm door knocking, everyone says that the first thing they think about when they think of Action is gardening and litter picking. So the first thing I want to do is probably not to get rid of the litter pick, but to move it later on in the year, because like I said, people always make that association. And so I know that might lose out on numbers, because during Freshers Week it's prime time to say, come on Freshers, just get into this Action project, and then and so we get hundreds of numbers, because it's a competition between halls who can get the most people down. So if I lose out on numbers there, which is what you're saying, then maybe we could gain numbers by introducing this link with societies and other sections.
Thank you, Sarah. Michael?
Yep, this is a debate that's been mentioned a lot, quality or quantity. I think both are very important. Personally, I think hours are the most important thing in Action. I think it provides students with getting action experience and also benefits them. Employability is something I've talked about a lot. I think there's a mutually beneficial experience for both the students and the people they're helping in the projects. So I think hours are the most important thing. The more hours you can get under your belt as a volunteer, the better. I think that it benefits both quantity and quality.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Ladies and gents, that was Michael and Sarah for Action.